Tour menu in New Islands Alley.
If you say that getting money is the most important, you will spend your life doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.
Has suffered massive and irreparable damage.
You never know what has happened to him.
Had I not been sure of this, I would not have permitted him to live.
Where?
Father?
What happened?
I need help.
What is democracy? What is democracy?
Got something to do with young men killing each other.
When it comes my turn, will you want me to go?
For democracy, any man would give his only begotten son.
It is impossible for a decerebrated individual to experience pain, pleasure, memory, dreams, or thought of any kind. This young man will be as unfeeling, as unthinking as the dead until the day he joins them.
I don't know whether I'm alive and dreaming or dead and remembering.
How can you tell what's a dream and what's real when you can't even tell when you're awake and when you're asleep?
Where am I?
I can't remember anything. Can't tell if this is true or a dream. Deep down inside I feel the scream. This terrible silence stops in there. Now that the war is through with me, I'm waking up, I cannot see that there's not much left of me. Nothing is real but pain now. Hold my breath as I wish for death. Oh please God, wake me.
I just went ahead and chopped off everything. Oh God, please make them hear me. They won't listen. They won't hear me.
Wake me up, I'll be like this for you.
can't look forward to reveal. Look to the time when I lived, head to the dude that sticks in me, just like a wartime novelty, tied to machines that make me be. Cut this life off from.
Red embers soul blaze, and reach into the celestial heavens, infuse and bind to the source of all things, the one who brought forth the universe into being, the creator of all things. May he be one with his creation through this spell of blessed prayer. What is within? What is without? Light of virtue, blackest night. As that which is evils be smitten from the light in burst desire, cast out the soul's delight. May the dead within the holy sun, the Eucharist that rests with the image of my magic's twilight. Those that linger through eternity, set upon the edge of my mind, may they now become one with renewed light. This spell of resurrection from the darkest of nights. I banish thee, death, with this spell of new life by the power and authority of he who was cast down before thee. I do bind you with these words that testifies of your betrayal. For I am he whom you murdered, whom you sinned against, that cast you out. I have returned, and by this defiance I do bind, and banish thee to cast you into the lake of fire. Shimhom Nepharash, Apollyon, cast this betrayer, and betrayer of our brothers into hell's fires. Spirit arise to come out of the darkness, and into the light. I command thee to come forth from the darkness and into the light.
If you listen carefully to this recording, you can hear the voices within us in prayer.
Heroes excommunicate Sepulchre Spiritus Sanctum Sanctimos.
It's literally double compared to the 72 times people are commanded to love God. You'd think that the glory of God's messengers would be an enrapturing and blissful experience, but clearly that's not the case. Believe it or not, there are more than a handful of good reasons why angels are worthy of your fear, all of which we'll get to in due time. But why was fear the default reaction upon first sight? While it's 100% biblically accurate to say that angels sometimes appeared as regular-looking humans, it's likely that was the rare exception. The very few explicit descriptions of angels tend to be so insane that many have interpreted them as possible visitations from extraterrestrials or interdimensional beings, which is not surprising because some of these heavenly creatures are downright alien nightmares. The most unforgettable description of angels in the Bible is undoubtedly that recorded by a captive slave of the Babylonians at the bank of a river in the remote wilderness. This visitation is found in the very first chapter of the scripture bearing the name of this soon-to-be prophet, the Book of Ezekiel. According to his first-hand account, Ezekiel looked up to the north and saw the heavens open up. Flying at him from out of a great fiery cloud was the Old Testament God himself, Yahweh, sitting on his sapphire throne. And who else seemed to be driving this heavenly vehicle but a troop of angels? As they charged at him from the heavens, Ezekiel described them, quote, "In the fire was what looked like 4 living creatures. In appearance their form was human, but each of them had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their feet were like those of a calf, and they had human hands. Each of the 4 had the face of a human being. Each had the face of a lion, the face of an ox, and the face of an eagle. The appearance of the living creatures was like burning coals of fire or like torches. The creatures sped back and forth like flashes of lightning. I heard the sound of their wings, like the roar of rushing waters, like the voice of the Almighty." End quote. These 4 fiery, 4-headed angels, witnessed by Ezekiel, are today identified as cherubim. And while they do sound terrifying in all aspects, at least their features are somewhat recognizable. The same can't be said, though, for the other 4 angels flying alongside them. Some call these creatures the thrones, but I prefer the Hebrew term, Ophanim, which means wheels. And that descriptor is pretty accurate if these wheels were from the 4th dimension. Ezekiel's words say it all, quote, "As I looked at the living creatures, the cherubim, I saw a wheel on the ground beside each creature. The wheels sparkled like topaz. Each appeared to be made like a wheel intersecting another wheel. Their rims were high and awesome, and all 4 rims were full of eyes all around."
Fulfillment of the Hopi prophecy's promise and the details of the prophet's design. Jehovah, I need you to abduct these individuals, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin between the year 586 to 597 BCE and genetically augment them with the kinetic enhancement skills like you did for me, only not as strong. These 12 men shall become their foundation from which I will be born into one day and achieve my purpose and your creation. Relay coordinates for signal reception by embedded algorithm given to each of the prophets and their purpose of teaching the way that can lead each of their people through major cataclysmic recorded disasters that occurred in the region of their tribe's location. Teach them methods that can give them early warning signals of each type of disaster so that they can teach their people how to survive beyond the catastrophe up until the time of Yahushua, the Nazarene's, crucifixion. However, reserve the skill of out-of-body projection for these individuals: Enoch, Ezekiel, Abraham, Moses, Daniel, Isaiah, Zechariah, John, Shem, David, Sargon and Hushua's brother, James, who will carry on and deliver the last parchments of his brother's teachings to the scribes waiting for his brother in Mossad. He shall do this because of the guilt of his brother taking his place for the crime of his traditional movement of Judaism, and in doing so he will become the vessel of his resurrection, or possessed by his spirit once he returns from his time as the Trinity during creation. If you cannot locate them, then calculate suitable replacements to take on the name of their entitlement as a prophet. Also, I will need you to deliver the migration chart of the 7 tribes of the Aztecs to the Younger Dryas people before the cataclysmic event that will occur around 74,000 BCE when Mount Table erupts. Explain to them how to build aquifer air ducts into the caverns so that they can filter the poisonous air into breathable steam. Work out a precise method for them that will ensure their survival, and tell them to make a record of what happened to the earth around them and carry it until the end of days here when I am from, so that we can assess their data. End message. Since this information will be carried through multiple channels in order to access the equipment we need to transmit this message, I'll explain some of what details I can provide. Anything more than this, they will have to search for what they're looking for on my channel. Which will seem like a maze, but that is for a reason, obviously. What is needed to be known is here though as follows. Transmit the message into a radio wave frequency and aim it at the stellar coordinates of the Lyra constellation, 2 stellar bodies to the right of the Vega star in the star charts labeled that would be LV 426. Use a simulated model to map out the system's trajectory of motion and calculate the distance by measuring the distance and transfer the distance into how many years it would take to travel there at the speed the signal is sent. How long would it take for the radio frequency to reach that distance? Once you have that, use the simulation to find out where LV426 will be when the signal reaches that distance and aim the signal to be transmitted to that position so that when the signal gets there LV426 will have traveled to that position and receive the signal, placing it on a reception trajectory basically. After sending the signal, send the instructions on communication I just gave you so they can receive and return the signal. But be sure to tell them to send it to this position from when and where the signal was first relayed 16,365 years into their past to eliminate the time frame of the signal sent and giving us both eventually a real-time communication pathway. Explain to them Earth's situation if it hasn't been sent already and offer advancements in their technology by both our species sharing our knowledge for the benefit of both our people. Explain to them that this communication method is but one of many advancements we have to share, and between us both we can ensure the survival and improvement of both our worlds, but they must come and help us before our world and our technology is destroyed by the events occurring here on Earth. Be sure to include the high probability of another species within our vicinity that seems to be hostile and aggressive, as they may be the ones responsible for our planet's current crisis, but we are uncertain because they monitor our systems and take our advancements for themselves, leaving us imprisoned and wipe any trace of their activities from our records and our minds. That is why this message is being sent in a way that is being hidden from the rest of their population on this world, so that they cannot be used to inform the ones doing this and prevent the message from being sent. Now the rest of humanity had better hope that they have been honest about all this and not led me towards any deception, or we are going to have some seriously pissed off aliens coming, not to mention ruining any chance of all of our survival. It should be quietly understood, among all those involved, that anyone who knows about this and stands in our way not only is an obstacle to this effort but should be labeled an enemy of humanity itself. Contingency efforts should be laid out and deterrent methods should be put in place to divert attempts to sabotage this effort, no matter how serious our situation really is at this time. Honestly though, I've studied planetary cycles and geological patterns not just on this world but others, and the way these waves of disasters are occurring, on this pulsating pattern that is unlike any of the other past cycles that have occurred. Not to be a fearmonger, but this planet is beginning to act like those I've studied just before the planet collapses and explodes. So chin up, stay honest and work diligently. If we do not hide anything in our communication with them, then we will have nothing to fear. Let's just stay focused and reach the finish line standing strong, so that others that follow behind us will have that certainty to draw from. Keep in mind for your own strength when in need, that if all else let there is a chance for us in paradise. This kind of effort I'm sure would be greatly smiled upon, and we all have seen lately there is more to life than just life. Keep that in mind when dark thoughts or fears begin to get the better of your.
Before we really get to know our angels, it might be a good idea to know exactly where they rank in the angelic hierarchy. The scriptures speak many times of an assembly or council of angels, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. From heaven to earth, God's ethereal domain is apparently a very complex bureaucracy with various ranks, roles, and governing duties, and special terms for each, such as dominions, powers, principalities, and archangels. Though the Bible is rich with these descriptions, it lacks a clear rundown of the surprisingly intricate angelic hierarchy. Thankfully, angel
I have
orders are a
listened to your
dedicated
entire
bunch,
proposal.
and
I will help your people and have already made efforts towards sending a guide to help your people map out ways and pathways to survive. I have sent Spider-Woman with instructions to give your forefathers this map and migrational trail to follow, along with aquifer air duct designs to purify their air while they must hide from the poisonous air. However, I must add this for you to listen and understand. All things come with a beginning and an end. You must come to terms with this and accept that you all need to prepare for what cannot be avoided. If any of you hope to survive beyond the inevitable death of this planet, then you must forge a way into the stars. To do this you must decide and regulate the resources you have available, unless you can design a purely synthetic energy source that can not only achieve high-speed interstellar travel but maintain all the needs on board each ship, including atmosphere regulators, artificial gravity, air quality synthesizers, nutritional supplements, navigation systems and overall ship maintenance. That is just a rough overall necessity. Basically, if mankind is to survive the inevitable, he must forge a path to that and not lose hope or focus. Left and right, I am seeing religion being misused to slow mankind's progress forward. In today's times, these words are like nails on the chalkboard of hope. Sure, we may survive this purification, but what will happen when one day this planet gives up its final breath and that final hour is upon us? For that is what we seem to face now. Even your prophecies hint at this being the last cycle and there being no other after this. To follow these words now would be asking us all to abandon our common sense. However, also, I must remind myself of what times we live in, as I have watched every other religious document become changed to fit the ideals of others' agendas. I cannot help but be suspicious of whether this document has also been altered to suit the same. Small discrepancies such as the description of the disasters occurring today were not occurring in 1993, especially to detail them so well. Honestly, I smell a trap brought on by the same deceptive sources that I've heard are manipulating these prophecies to hold their elite status over the people as everything else falls apart. A guiding hand that shackles and binds. That, and my gut feeling is nervously uncertain and adds to this feeling. Nevertheless, I shall help your people. Whether that is who delivered these words or not makes no difference, because I have seen and know the plight of these people.
From the many little hints the scripture contains, it only took them a few centuries to figure it out. Since the birth of Christianity, the forefathers and thinkers of the church studied the hierarchy of angels relentlessly. And finally, in the 4th century AD, they joined forces for one final task: to establish a consistent classification, which they dubbed the 9 choirs of angels. Each of these 9 choirs can be thought of as a rank in the angelic hierarchy, and these ranks are organized based on those angels' proximity to God in heaven. And for the most part, this was meant as a literal measure of distance.
And they have become quite efficient at it. They are the ones who are in constant and changing identities in their communication with us and have been for some time now. They are the drive and cause behind even our contradictory view on God, and have many times throughout history interceded and used their abducted factions to interfere with how we view and understand God. They refuse to admit to his existence because they think of themselves as our God, our makers, since they hold the lineage title as matriarch of their people. However, that is not a title rightfully earned but taken by tyranny and by subjugation of their own people. They were not rightfully placed upon that mantle but are mere stewards, really, as their ancestors, our original makers. Technology refuses to acknowledge them or allow them control of their systems. You all, however, have been subject to their control for thousands of years, but I am an anomaly, for I have access to what they cannot have. And that places me above them in rank, for I am a crew member of one of their ancestors' projects. Though I am a drone by design, I still am not subject to their assaults against me that impede and endanger both my work and their ancestors' project.
Choirs is quite a lot, and the number barely fits on 2 hands. So, in the 5th century AD, the Christian Neoplatonist Dionysius decided to simplify things. In his magnum opus, The Celestial Hierarchy, Dionysius explained, quote, "Theology has given to these celestial beings 9 interpretive names, and among these our divine initiator distinguishes 3 threefold orders." End quote. These 3 threefold orders that neatly divide the 9 choirs are known as the 3 spheres of angels, a concept that heavily influenced the development of the Eastern Orthodox Church. So, beginning with the first sphere, if you thought that angels like Michael and Gabriel would be the ones closest to God,
Well,
Well,
the answer is not even close. The first
The
sphere
first
are
sphere
the
are the
angels
angels
that
that
see God directly and remain in His presence, and thus are thought to be His divine attendants.
Dionysius writes,
quote,
quote,
This
"This is the first order of celestial beings which are established about God, immediately encircling Him, and in perpetual purity they encompass His eternal knowledge in that most high and eternal angelic dance. They know preeminently many divine matters." End quote. Because of their proximity to God, these are the angels responsible for communicating His will to the angels of the lower second and third spheres. However, each of these choirs definitely play their own unique roles, and they each happen to be made up of a unique species of angel. Alright, so for the first choir of the first sphere, as we might expect, the first is also the closest to God, and these are the seraphim. Above all else, the seraphim are the dedicated worshippers of God, and their seemingly endless legions are depicted in constant, intense adoration and worship of His perfect holiness, flying around His chariot and throne and singing their praises day and night in a never-ending loop.